Hey guys, we just had another major security incident near the White House. Former Homeland Security Advisor Michael Balboni is warning us that this raises huge issues, especially after the two assassination attempts that we've already seen. Are we looking at a serious failure in how the Secret Service protects high profile individuals? And on top of that, Trump is cutting funding to Columbia University over anti Semitic protests, and the backlash is intense. There's a lot to break down, but first, let's hear what Balboni had to say about all this. Watch closely, guys, because this is big.
Mr. Balboni, thanks for joining us this afternoon. You know, the White House complex really does seem to draw this type of thing. How does the U.S. Secret Service combat that?
Secret Service has developed a 360-degree, multiple layers of defense, where obviously you have the physical protection of the White House itself, and then you have numerous cameras and surveillance. You have great intelligence, which is what this case, by the way, showed, that you had information that this individual was going to be in the area possibly, and they had additional information. That's the most important element in trying to prevent something, as opposed to just responding to it. But, you know, this fits into a larger piece. Obviously, the two attempted assassinations of the president, these have raised huge issues as to what the Secret Service knew beforehand, before the events, and how the individuals were able to get into the positions, whether in Butler, Pennsylvania, or in Florida itself. Obviously, the case with the Florida shooter is going to be going to court. There's a bunch of legal proceedings going on right now. But again, raising big questions as to how someone could be lying in wait for 12 hours outside of a golf course. So it raises all sorts of issues, especially when you have somebody as high profile and in many circles as controversial as President Trump.
There have been leadership changes. There have been recommendations on how Secret Service should change the way it operates. Do you think that that's been enough? You think Secret Service is back on track here?
What I always wanted to see was the Congress did a very in-depth hearing and investigation in this, and I wasn't really so satisfied as to what really happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. And so I think that President Trump has said he really wants to get to the bottom of both of those incidents, and he's going to continue to look very strong in those issues and direct all his agencies to share information, which is really important, re-examine the training that people get, and also a lot of the issues. Remember what Secret Service does. They work with local law enforcement when the president is traveling. So what type of relationships do they have? It's absolutely crucial. When I was a Homeland Security Advisor here in New York City, when the Pope came to visit, when we had national security events, working with the Secret Service was absolutely essential. But again, has that changed? Could it get better? These are all the questions that need to be done right now, especially given the Trump presidency.
And the Trump administration also, and speaking of your city, is canceling $400 million in grants to Columbia University because of these ongoing protests that we've seen. What do you make of what's going on at Columbia, and do you think that there's going to be any changes from the university given what the administration's doing?
So currently, the Department of Justice and the Department of State are examining what has gone on the campuses. First of all, let's be clear. Anti-Semitic behavior, any other group behavior on campus should never be allowed if it involves any type of violence itself. And so, what you have here, obviously, you have that fine line between the ability to protest and then the safety of other students. And so the Department of Justice is taking this very seriously. In fact, the Department of State has announced today that they're revoking visas for several of the students that have been pro-Hamas supporters who have committed violent acts. See, that should be the metric. If you commit a violent act on campus, you shouldn't be allowed on campus, period. And if you have a visa or you're here illegally, you should definitely be deported. In terms of Columbia, Columbia has always been a little bit of a hotbed of dissent and voices in protest. That, again, should be allowed, but in a way where you don't discriminate against any other group or provide any type of threat.
Do you think that Columbia is going to have to close down its campus if this goes on for more months?
Yeah, again, terribly challenging choices for Columbia itself. First of all, you got people coming on campus who aren't even students. And what we saw last year with many of the campus protests, there were agitators there, professional agitators. And some circles say that they were perhaps connected to foreign agencies, trying to stir up dissent, particularly in advance of the presidential election. What also makes this challenging is that, these individuals are going there with masks on to try to hide their identity. And they're trying to do things just to create a scene of chaos itself. That should not be a part of the academic experience, especially with institutions with the history of Columbia.
Yeah, Columbia's gotten within its faculty a lot of criticism from bringing in law enforcement. Is this something that Columbia can handle on its own?
It depends upon what the security procedures are, and many times universities, they will provide security, obviously, for the safety of their students, but this is beyond that. This is now something where you have to take an aggressive action, both in terms of knowing who's on your campus, having a good intelligence set, having the right surveillance, but yet not go into that, George Orwell 1984, where you're going to survey everybody and know what people are doing all the time, because you want to have an area and an air of academic freedom and the ability to protest. So it's an incredibly fine line. It's very challenging for universities like Columbia. I predict that Columbia is really going to beef up their internal investigations and internal capabilities to decide who should be on campus and who should not, and then take steps to prevent people who shouldn't be there from being on campus.
Okay, guys, first of all, do me a big favor. Hit that thumbs up like button if you think the Secret Service needs to seriously step up security. It helps get this video out to more people, guys. I appreciate it. Couldn't do without you. Okay, another shooting near the White House. This isn't just some random event, guys, especially after 2 assassination attempts on Trump. Balboni pointed out that the Secret Service is supposed to have a 360-degree defense layer. So how do we keep seeing these threats slip through? Guys, let me know what you think. Does this suggest incompetence, or is there really something bigger going on here? Think about the Florida incident. A shooter waited 12 hours before making his move. That alone should have triggered security intervention. Now, Balboni says that Congress held a hearing on all this, but didn't really answer the big question. Guys, do you trust the government to fix these security failures before something worse happens? The Trump administration is pulling $400 million from Columbia over anti-Semitic protests. That's a huge move. The argument is that the protests crossed a line. Some students were supporting Hamas and even engaging in violence. Should other universities face similar funding cuts if they allow this kind of behavior on their campus? Balboni raised a concerning idea. Are outside groups, even foreign governments, influencing these protests to stir up chaos? Guys, that's not a conspiracy. That's a real possibility. We've seen foreign influence before, and campus protests could be a perfect tool for division. Let me know what you think about these foreign actors that might be behind this chaos that we're seeing on these campuses. Guys, this is a huge, major discussion. Are we seeing a collapse in presidential security? Are universities out of control? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below, guys. And guys, I couldn't do this again without you. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. If you want to support the channel at the next level, consider becoming a member. It helps me keep bringing you the truth that the media is not going to tell you. Thanks, guys, for watching. I'll see you in the next video.